Hello, welcome to the NR200 Top Hat version 3 components and build guide update. Um, I would highly recommend watching the version 1 build guide and then using this video for the new kit components and to make your build process easier. There's a bunch that have improved. Firstly, there are less components needed, so these should be included in your kit. All of these parts, your front panels, your back panel, your side panels, back PSU extension, all of these parts are still needed, but I've reduced the amount of parts needed, so it's a little better. Then also included are this hardware. The screwdriver is not included, but you get an assortment of 632 screws and M3 screws, and their uses are labeled in the screen as shown. One big change is that the front panels now incorporate those top mounting points, as you saw. So let's start. So you have your first setup. And you need to prepare all of your components as shown. So you have your radiator pump block already installed, but you have the tubes hanging out and you have your fans ready to go. Once you have that prepared, plan ahead. You really need to think about how you're going to wire everything together and how the tubes are going to go. Are they going to be routed to the front of the case? Are they going to be routed to the back of the case? I recommend routing the fans to the back, but it all gets very complicated when you're assembling it outside and then incorporating it into the case. Also, to keep in mind, the back PSU plug gets in the way of the radiator and fans when you install it. So you may need to incorporate my back PSU bracket, which will push back the position of that socket so that you'll have more working room inside the case. So this is a video of me installing the back PSU bracket. First, you need to unscrew the two 632 screws that mount that plastic housing. Once that's all the screws are out, you can push it out and you can grab the printed part that I have that's U-shaped and then the two included long 632 screws. You may need to pull out and get some cable slack from that cable to the PSU. It's usually no problem. There's enough slack. And then go ahead and insert the 632 long screws into each of the holes. And they should thread right into the existing mounting points on the case. You can watch me threading them in right now. Note that, yes, this does add a little bit of a protrusion out the back of the case, but this is necessary to improve the amount of clearance you have for a radiator or fans when you're adding especially a 280 mil radiator with the 140 millimeter fans. And there you go. It should be solid and it should not move around and it looks great. And you have that clearance now. Now, next in the guide is one thing I didn't include in the first video is being able to actually unscrew those top corner brackets off of the case. This actually gives you a lot more working space, and based on the way I designed the top hat, the fans and the radiator sandwich these brackets. So it's actually easier to take them off, and then when you're assembling the sandwich of the fans, the radiator brackets, those side brackets, and the radiator, you can do it outside of the case before needing to install it at the very end. So here, I'm only unscrewing 2 screws on each of the brackets. There are actually 4, securing them 2 on each corner. I'm just not showing it there, unfortunately. I didn't have those screws in. Now, just to orient the positions, I have 2 of these radiator brackets, and they have those slots. And I've actually designed in lettering to say either front or back. So you have both 240 mil and 280 mil rad mounting positions available. And they're on both brackets. So the V-shaped bracket is oriented at the front, and in this case, I have the tubes in the front of my design or of my build, and then I have the back bracket installed in the back, and then they are sandwiched. These brackets are sandwiched between the radiator and the fans, and you have to plan this out properly. I may have gotten the orientation wrong when showing this. Oh no, I got it right. Keep in mind whether or not you want to do a push or pull configuration. Do you want to pull air, push air through exhausting through the top, or do you want to pull air from the top into the case? Totally up to you in terms of preference. And then you can go ahead and grab the other long 1.5 6x32 screws and thread them through just to hold them in place. This is just going to be a sanity check first. No need to thread in all of the screws. But I think in this example I do, just to demonstrate. And then go ahead and use your Phillips head screwdriver to thread in those screws to hold it in place for now. And I wouldn't recommend to thread them in loosely. Do not tighten them all the way down. This is important because I can't guarantee compatibility of how everything fits inside the case. So that's why I designed in these slots so that the brackets can actually slide a little bit to account for any sort of parts that you may have in your case. You see how they're able to slide. So I'm going to take this assembly, and I have my design where the tubes can go in the front. And I'm trying to see if everything fits. This is really important in case there's something in your case that's non-standard. Maybe you have side intake or a GPU that's vertically mounted. And so right now I'm showing how to snap in the bracket to case mounts into these brackets, and I actually get them wrong here. So you can kind of see how I'm working through how to snap them into place. In this situation, I think I have them um, oriented correctly. Um, so there are two holes on each side of these slots, and the way my bracket to case mounts fit is they snap fit in place with the an arm that sticks out and aligns a hole to either side. And usually, um, in this situation, I got it wrong. You need to flip it around and get it so they align. And the holes are a little offset from the slot, and that's why I provide. And so you just need to keep that in mind. They should snap in very easily. And just keep in mind and watch how I'm fumbling here to get them right and sorting them through. You get 4 of these, and they should snap fit exactly. And if they don't fit, then try again. Flip them around or grab a different one until they do work. Great. I think I got them, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the other ones, inspecting it, and now I realize, well, I may have gotten one wrong, so I snapped one out. I exchanged it for the right one. And I'm still trying to get that perfect fit. Still not fitting, and I'm realizing, oh, geez, I gotta switch them again and try to get it working again. And there we go, that snapped in place. Great, so that means one of the other ones was a little messed up, and I'm seeing, okay, that's how they snap into place. So keep this in mind, pause the video, and get it right. Otherwise, you'll be me and fumbling a little bit. That's how they should look. Great. Once you've done that, now, in the case of the 280 mil rad, you may need to sandwich them. In the case of a 240 rad, you actually don't need to do this unscrewing step. So what happens is the 280 mil rad and the fans are really wide, right? And they need to be sandwiched. They need to sandwich these corner brackets, but you don't need these in the 240 mil rad setup. In this one, I'm going ahead and adjusting them and just making sure that they fit and they're kind of held in place more securely. And then in the next clip, I'll show how these are really locked in place. So this bracket to case mounts are the mounting points of how you secure the whole assembly to the base case. You gotta go ahead and put them on the other side, orient it, make sure you've oriented it properly. Pause the video if you need to take a closer look. Now I've had the brackets installed. This is the part where it gets a little tricky, and remember, plan everything in advance. So I'm locking down all of the screws so that they kind of hold down the corner brackets a little better, the edge brackets. And once they're kind of fastened down a little better, you grab your longer M3 by 12 millimeter screws and thread them into the holes on the other side, on the what would be the top side of the radiator brackets. And these screws thread through those brackets, through the metal brackets, and then into the bracket to case mounts. Those bracket to case mounts act as the anchor for the screw, holding everything together. And this is how the whole thing sandwiches. And it may take a little bit of force to get that screw in, and you actually Don't need to screw all of these screws in, but there are 8 holes provided mounting points if you want really secure things. You can see how the M3 is threading into the bracket to case. Now you have 1, you know, 2, 3, 4 on one side, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the other. Once you've screwed all of those in, great. Then you can go ahead and test fit and see how everything aligns inside at the top of the case. And you just like focus on each of the 4 corners and play with it until they lock right in. So, well, one other thing is that I've upgraded the back panel design in the way it mounts. So you actually can use 632 screws that are 1.5 inches long to screw the back panel directly into the case mounting points that were existing. And so you can see it goes through that back panel mounting point and through the radiator brackets and directly into the case. This provides a lot better securement than was in version 1. And the same is in the front panel as well. I've added extra mounting points, and this is what differs in the design. So I'm going ahead and place those in and see how that hole must align with the hole in the radiator brackets. And then you can go ahead and screw in your 632 1/2 inch screws into those positions. And if they don't align, you may need to play with the alignment. And once those are screwed in, the rest of the assembly is the same with the front IO and how that is adjusted, and how you put in the side panels. They slot in as usual. You may need to loosen the mounting of the 632 screws of the front or back panels and jiggle it a little bit to get some clearance to get the side panels in, but the core of it is essentially the same. And then the top bezel assembles to the top with those same mounting points, but now you no longer need those top radiator brackets. Thank you.